Something else about that whole era occurs in Exodus chapter 6, where we're talking about the Passover that's forthcoming out of Egypt, where God says, "Wherefore say unto the children of Israel, I am the Lord, and I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. I will rid you out of their bondage. I will redeem you with a stretched out arm and with great judgments. And I will take you to me for a people, and I will be to you a God, and ye shall know that I am the Lord your God, which bringeth you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians." The reason I'm pulling this out here, the Jews will highlight 4 major commands here. I will bring you out. I will rid you out of their bondage. I will redeem you with stretched out arm, and I will take you to me for a people. From these 4 labels, they label the 4 cups of the Passover presentation. The cup of bringing out, the cup of the delivery, the cup of redemption, or the cup of blessing, as Paul calls it when he alludes to its institution of the Lord's Supper, and the 4th cup of taking out. I'm mentioning there are so many details about the Passover that we don't have time to go. We're going to have a subsequent session that Dan Stolbarger will take you through the Passover much more deeply than we have time for here. But in 1 Corinthians 10, we have this 3rd cup is the cup with which the Lord institutes the Last Supper, the Last Seder, I should say. And it's interesting that 4th cup was incomplete, that he takes a Nazirite vow. The Lord says, I will not touch the fruit of the vine until we all are together in the kingdom. Leaven is very prominent in all the Levitical observations, except one, and I'll come to that. Leaven is a type of sin in the Old and New Testament both. It's a very interesting idiom used that way because it corrupts by puffing up. And it's a very, very colorful metaphor, if you will. And all through the Old Testament, that term is used that way. All through the New Testament, it's used that way. It's a very consistently used idiom where leaven refers that which is sin or hypocrisy or deceit is always leaven. It's interesting that the woman in the leaven in Matthew 13, the 4th of the kingdom parables, you won't understand that unless you understand that leaven is sin, and that the whole point of that parable hangs on understanding the role of the leaven there. In Paul's 2nd letter to the Corinthians, Jesus was made sin for us, and again we have his role as in our place. In contrast to the leaven, of course, Jesus himself, it's one of his 7 I am statements in the Gospel of John. It says, I am the bread of life, in contrast to the leaven. Passover is so essential for Christians to understand that's why we're devoting a whole separate session just on the Passover itself. We're just hitting a few highlights here. But I do want to cover this 3 days and 3 nights issue. If Passover is on the 14th, Jesus himself said that he would be in the grave 3 days and 3 nights. Well, if he is executed on Passover between the evenings, Passover starts at sunset. Before sunset the following day, from our point of view, is still the 14th of Nisan. If he's in the grave 3 days and 3 nights, that means the resurrection would occur at sundown Saturday night. In other words, the first part of the following day. So now we also know that the women came to the tomb after the end of the Sabbaths. That's in Matthew 28, verse 1. What the Sabbaths is plural. The day after Passover starts the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is one of the 3 obligatory feasts that every able-bodied Jew had to attend. After the Feast of Unleavened Bread, we have Sabbath. See, Passover could be any day of the week, depending on what year it was, because it would shift because of the shift of the calendars. But whatever it is, there's a Passover. There is a Sabbath after Passover. The next morning is the Feast of First Fruits. It's defined that way. So on this particular time, the 14th of Nisan is on a Wednesday. That made the morning after Shabbat, after Passover, it's always on a Sunday morning, but that Sunday morning would be 3 days and 3 nights from the Wednesday. Follow me? It all fits. It wouldn't fit any year. It fits this year. And so we have here in view Passover itself, another major feast, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and which is a Shabbaton. In addition to the 52 Sabbaths each year, they have 7 high Sabbaths, and Feast of Unleavened Bread is one of those. The Feast of First Fruits, the first of the harvest celebration. That Sunday morning, when the smoke at the temple was going up from the formal Feast of First Fruits, there were a group of women heading for an empty tomb.